A lion walked into the hospital carrying a baby in its jaws, leaving everyone stunned. But when the nurse uncovered the truth, it left everyone speechless. Let us know where you're watching this story from. Rain poured down in sheets, blurring the neon sign outside St. Catherine's Hospital in Seattle, Washington. Emily Harper, a dedicated nurse with over a decade of experience, sat at her station, sipping lukewarm coffee. Her eyes were heavy with fatigue, but she pressed on. It was just another busy night, or so she thought. The soft chime of the automatic doors opening with a gentle hiss snapped her head toward the lobby. Emily glanced toward the entrance, expecting to see a late-night visitor or an ambulance crew rushing in with a stretcher. Instead, her mug slipped from her hands and shattered on the tiled floor. Standing in the doorway was a lion, a massive beast with a golden mane. Its fur was soaked from the rain, and it stood motionless as the storm raged behind it. Time seemed to freeze. The bustling hospital fell into silence, everyone rising from their seats, unable to process what they were witnessing. The lion showed no aggression. It didn't roar or charge. It simply stood there, calmly surveying the room. But what truly caught Emily's attention wasn't just the sheer impossibility of this creature's presence. Between its powerful jaws, it carried a small, wrapped bundle. The lion stepped forward carefully, its claws clicking softly against the floor, and its amber eyes locked with Emily's. She felt an inexplicable pull, a connection that transcended fear. Whispers of disbelief swept through the staff as the lion drew closer. Security guards froze in indecision, unsure whether to intervene, while doctors watched in stunned silence. Emily took a step forward, her heart pounding wildly. She couldn't explain it, but something inside her told her to trust this creature. When the lion reached the center of the lobby, it gently lowered the bundle to the floor and nudged it toward Emily with its nose, then sat back on its haunches. For a moment, the only sound was the rain pounding relentlessly against the hospital windows. Emily knelt down, her hands trembling as she reached for the bundle. Slowly, she peeled back the soaked fabric, revealing what lay inside, and her breath caught in her throat. It was a baby, a tiny infant, no more than a few days old. Its skin was pale, its small chest rose and fell weakly, its lips tinged blue, and it let out a faint, pitiful cry. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. She quickly assessed the baby's condition, her training kicking in. This child needed immediate medical attention. She shouted loudly for the pediatric team, her voice firm and commanding, cutting through the stunned silence of the room. The lion didn't move, sitting quietly, its intelligent eyes tracking Emily's every motion. It seemed to understand the urgency, as if its task was complete now that the baby was in safe hands. As Emily handed the baby to a team of nurses and doctors rushing in with an incubator, she glanced back at the lion. Something about this entire situation didn't add up, didn't make sense. Where had it come from? Why had it brought the baby here? And how could it display such precision and awareness in its actions? Her thoughts were interrupted by a voice. "What's going on here?" It was Dr. James Carter, the hospital's chief physician, who had just arrived on the scene. He looked from Emily to the lion, his face a mask of utter disbelief. Emily explained quickly, her voice shaking with emotion. "The lion brought the baby. It walked in and placed it on the floor. It knew something was wrong." Dr. Carter's expression softened as he glanced at the bundle being whisked away to the neonatal unit and then back at the lion. "And now what?" he asked. "I don't know," Emily whispered, turning to the animal. The lion hadn't moved, water dripping from its thick fur, utterly calm, as if waiting for something or someone. Security guards began edging closer, their radios buzzing with frantic chatter. One of them raised a tranquilizer gun, his hands unsteady. Emily raised her voice, firm and unwavering. "No one touches that lion. It saved a life tonight, and we owe it the same respect." Dr. Carter hesitated for a moment but nodded, trusting her instincts. "Let's figure this out," he said quietly. But before anyone could act, the lion stood, turned, and began walking back toward the exit. It paused briefly, glancing over its shoulder as if to say goodbye, then disappeared into the rain as silently as it had come. Emily remained standing there, her heart racing, with more questions than answers. The mystery deepened when one of the nurses hurried over, clutching a small object in her hand. "I found this in the baby's blanket," she said, breathless, and handed it to Emily. It was a gold locket, slightly tarnished but clearly engraved. Emily opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a photograph, faded but distinct. It showed a woman holding a newborn, smiling gently. On the back of the locket was an inscription: "To Sarah, protect him at all costs." Emily stared at the locket, her mind racing. Who was Sarah? Was she the baby's mother? What had happened to her? And how was the lion connected to all of this? The storm outside continued to rage, but something shifted inside Emily. She didn't know it yet, but this night was the beginning of something far greater than anyone could have imagined. The neonatal unit was a flurry of activity, with doctors and nurses working tirelessly to stabilize the baby. Emily stood outside, watching through the glass with a mix of hope and worry. The baby's tiny chest now rose and fell more steadily, aided by the hum of the incubator. Dr. Carter emerged from the room, his face reflecting both relief and confusion. "The baby's stable for now," he said. "Dehydrated, hypothermic, but no physical injuries. It's a miracle, Emily. Whoever or whatever brought him here saved his life." Emily nodded, clutching the locket tightly in her hand. "But who is he, James? And what happened to him before he got here? That lion, it didn't just stumble in by chance. It knew what it was doing. It understood." Before Dr. Carter could respond, a soft chime sounded over the intercom. "Security to the main entrance. We have a situation." Emily's heart sank. She turned to the doctor, her instincts kicking in. "Stay with the baby, I'll handle this." The main lobby was no longer the calm, almost surreal scene it had been earlier. The rain had eased to a light drizzle, but the hospital entrance was now swarmed with people. Police officers, reporters, and a few onlookers who had clearly heard rumors of the incident. Emily pushed through the crowd and spotted Daniel, the head of security, speaking with two officers. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice steady despite the surrounding chaos. Daniel gestured toward a man standing just outside the hospital doors. He was tall, with disheveled hair and a weathered face, his clothes soaked from the rain. His eyes were frantic, darting around as if searching for someone, and he clutched a photograph in his hand. "He showed up a few minutes ago," Daniel explained. "Said he's looking for his son. Claims he knows something about the lion." Emily's pulse quickened. "His son?" She stepped forward, her eyes meeting the man's. "Sir, I'm Nurse Harper. You said you're looking for your son?" The man's hands shook as he held out the photograph. It was the same woman and baby from the locket, but now the man was in the picture too, his arm wrapped protectively around the woman, his face beaming with pride. "My name is Thomas," he said, his voice breaking with emotion. "My wife Sarah died 3 days ago. Our car went off the road during the storm. I went for help, but when I came back, the baby was gone. I thought I'd lost him forever." Emily's breath caught in her throat. "Your wife's name was Sarah?" Thomas nodded, his eyes filling with tears. "She gave me this," he said, pulling out an identical gold locket. "It was hers. She said it was meant to protect him no matter what." Emily tightened her grip on the locket in her own hand. "Thomas, your son is here. He's safe. But there's something else." She hesitated, unsure how to explain the unexplainable. "A lion brought him to us." Thomas's expression flickered between disbelief and shock. "A lion?" She nodded. "It walked into the hospital carrying your son in a blanket. It didn't hurt anyone, just left him here." "Do you know anything about that?" Thomas's face paled. "The lion, it was Sarah's wish." Emily blinked. "What do you mean?" Thomas took a deep, shaky breath. "Sarah grew up near a wildlife sanctuary. There was a lion there she cared for as a girl, named Samson. She always said he was special, almost like he could understand her. Before she died, she told me that if anything happened to us, Samson would know and protect us. I thought she was delirious, but now..." His voice trailed off, tears streaming down his cheeks. Emily placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Thomas, your son is alive because of her wish. The lion somehow brought him here. We still don't understand how, but he's alive, and he needs you." In the neonatal unit, Thomas stood by the incubator, tears rolling down his face as he gazed at his son. Emily stood nearby, giving him space but watching the emotional reunion with a full heart. The baby stirred, his tiny hand reaching out as if sensing his father's presence. "He looks just like her," Thomas whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for saving him." Emily smiled gently. "It wasn't just us. Samson knew." Thomas nodded, his gaze still fixed on his son. "I don't know how to repay you." "There's nothing to repay," Emily said softly. "Your wife's love and that lion's instinct brought him here. That's all that matters." But even as the moment brought relief and joy, Emily's mind lingered on the mysteries of that night. Where had the lion gone? How could it have acted with such intelligence? And why did it feel like this wasn't the end of the story? The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, Emily felt an inexplicable urge to step out to the hospital's main entrance. She walked outside, the air fresh and calm after the stormy night. Her eyes scanned the street, hoping to catch a glimpse of the lion. And then she saw it, just beyond the edge of the hospital parking lot, standing in the shadows of the trees, was Samson. His amber eyes met hers one last time. He stood tall and majestic, his mane shimmering in the golden morning light. Emily felt an overwhelming sense of peace, as if the lion was saying goodbye. With a low, gentle rumble, Samson turned and walked away, vanishing into the trees. Emily stood there for a long time, the morning air cool against her skin. She clutched the locket in her hand, her heart full of gratitude and wonder. The world was still full of questions, but one thing was certain. Sometimes love and loyalty transcend human understanding. And on that stormy night, a lion had proven it.